Hello, good day to each and every one of you. And this will be our fifth video discussion for the subject TOU 060 Accommodation, Operations, and Management. Um, Same with the other videos, I would like to say a few words before we start. Make sure that you are in a comfortable environment. Meron kayong maayos na lighting. It's well ventilated. You guys are feeling okay. Hindi kayo nagugutom, or you have snacks with you. Maybe a beverage, coffee. Have coffee here, and make sure that as much as possible when studying, you have you are relaxed. You don't feel overwhelmed with a lot of thoughts, with a lot of emotions and feelings. Kasi kapag masyado tayong overwhelmed with a lot of stuff that's going on inside our heads, usually all of the things that we are trying to study, we cannot really absorb it fully, no? Hindi tayo na-absorb ng buo yung pag-aaralan natin. So, yun lang, and I hope you guys are okay. Lately, masyadong maraming ginagawa, masyadong maraming nangyayari sa school, sa ating mga buhay, and I really do hope everyone is safe and enjoying life as it is. Okay, so tulad din ng mga sinabi ko doon sa isang subject natin, isang topic na lang din tayo for finals, and this will be this is I think the best last fit na module na pag-uusapan natin, and only because all of the other modules in this subject primarily talks about the operations itself, the process of housekeeping. Pero I'm sure maybe not all of you, no? Maybe siguro mga 1 or 5%, 10% of tourism students will pursue a career in housekeeping. Pero I'm sure you chose tourism as a course not because you want to work in the housekeeping department. So all of those processes na I opted not to include it in our studies kasi naisip ko na you guys should focus on how it works, how the housekeeping and rooms division department works, and primarily the importance uh, of guest relations, no? Na meron kayong napanood na video before, may pinanood ako sa inyong video before about service versus hospitality. And sana napanood nyo talaga yon, at sana meron talaga kayong tutunan about the difference of the two terms, and how can we incorporate the idea of hospitality in our day-to-day operations, especially once you started working in the industry. So here is the last module that we're going to talk about. This is module number 25, and it is managing and monitoring the housekeeping job. So this is most likely this will be the part of the executive housekeeper. Kanyang roles, yung kanyang ways, responsibilities in the workforce or in the work environment of a hotel. And the things that we are going to talk about here in this module, meron dito mga bagay na pwede nating i-apply not just working as the executive housekeeper, but also as part of the middle level management or the low level management, which is supervisor and supervisory levels and managerial levels na basic lang. Things na pwede nyong gawin din at pwede nyong ma-apply someday pag kayo trabaho na as managers and supervisors of different hospitality establishments. So without further ado, let's begin. In this module, we are talking about managing and monitoring the housekeeping job. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the functions and responsibilities of the housekeeping manager or the executive housekeeper. First is we housekeeping manager is primarily uh, responsible for planning, decision making, and problem solving. Lahat naman actually ng mga ano no, ng mga especially middle level managers and top level managers. Ang kanilang mismong functions talaga is planning, decision making, and problem solving. And of course, maganda kung ang ating mga managers na nagpaplano at nagde-decide para sa future ng kumpanya ay mga empleyado na rin before ng kumpanya and knows how the company runs, the company operates, knows the standard operating procedures of the hotel para alam ng mga managers moving forward on how can they properly take care of the company, take care of its employees, and take care of its external customers or yung ating mga guests. Planning and decision making and problem solving determines the operational requirements of his or her department and coordinates with the purchases for the procurement of said items. Of course, tulad nga ng sabi ko, dapat ang ating mga managers or yung mga leaders natin alam kung ano ang standard operating procedures or yung mga kailangan para magawa ang mga trabaho doon sa hotel or na establishment na yun. Kapag sorry. Kapag alam mo kasi as a person or as a, yun nga, pag alam mo kasi as a manager kung paano tumatakbo ang kumpanya, you will know what items should you procure or should you order, what tools and equipments should you buy. Baka meron kang mga pwedeng mapagdesisyonan na bilhin ng mga items or equipments to better help the operations of the hotel or the establishment, and so on and so forth. So once that you know how the establishment runs, you will have an idea kung ano yung mga dapat na mga bagay na meron tayo, mga bagay na dapat prepared tayo, mga bagay na dapat meron tayong nasa inventory para kasi nga 'di ba, these are all items that we use every day in the operations. So if you have an idea of how the operation works, you will know how to properly decide on what items to buy and when to buy these items for the operations. Formulate goals and targets as well as plans and strategies geared towards goal attainment. As managers and as leaders of a particular department, not just in housekeeping, no, it is also your primary job to formulate goals. And these goals, aside from formulating them, you formulate as well plans and strategies on how to achieve these departmental goals. Goals na make sure na achievable siya, no? Na in a short amount of time. Goals that are set in a longer amount of time, which may be, for example, about 5 years or and above. These are all goals na pinag-uusapan not just by the middle level management, but specifically, ang nag-handle nito ay yung mga sa top level management natin. And once that you guys are old enough and experienced enough to be part of the top level management, your goals is moving forward. Dito po pasok yung mga 5-year plans ng company natin or a 10-year plan ng company. Yung sinasabi natin dito na goals is let's try it as much as possible to achieve yung doon muna tayo sa low level or middle level management, since ito yung most likely achievable during a short amount of time after you graduate in college. So goals that can be achieved maybe throughout 1 year, or goals that can be achieved with a span of 6 months, most likely pwede na. And yun, formulate achievable goals. Yung goals na masyadong suntok sa buwan, no? Para 'di ba? Pag masyado kasi mahirap yung mga hinain sa atin na steps, mas mataas yung chance na hindi natin ito magagawa agad-agad. And kaya nga sinasabi natin din na we should work at our own pace, 'di ba? And understand how the operation works. Kasi once that you know how the operation works, you can set achievable goals. Next, prepares and submits operational requirements and budget monitors consumption against the budget. Each departments they are given budgets And these budgets are, of course, all of the budget is prepared by the heads of the department, by the managers. And sila yung nagde-decide kung ano yung mga kailangan bilhin, kung paano gagastusin yung mga budget nito. Maybe it's in a form of renovating the office, or maybe it's in a form of rewarding the staff, or increasing the number of staff, or changing something in the operations. Kayo na bahala as managers kung paano ninyo gagamitin yung budget na ito. And you will also monitor how the budget is being consumed by a specific month, in a specific year maybe, para malaman mo kung ano yung mga bagay na dapat pa talaga necessary itong ganitong klaseng gastos, or baka naman pwedeng hindi natin ito muna ilagay as gastos and ilagay muna natin siya in the future pag tayo ay medyo nakakaluwag-luwag na sa operations natin. Next, analyzes variances against targets and deviations from standards and takes corrective actions. Ibig sabihin nito is yung sa ating mga standard operating procedures. Meron bang mga bagay sa ating SOP na naiiba o nasasalungat? Meron ba yung mga substandard na operating procedures, yung mga diskarte na sinasabi natin sa industriya, na hindi naman talaga ito yung tinuro sa atin during orientation and training, pero pwede nating gawin para lang madiskartehan yung trabaho natin. And marami nangyayari, marami ginagawang ganito. Hindi lang sa industriya natin, pati dito sa academe, meron ding mga konting diskarte para lang matuos, mataguyod yung specific na period na ito. Pero yun, kayo as managers, you will have to analyze how the operation really works. Tulad ng sinasabi ko kanina pa, how this department usually operates, ano yung mga ilang manpower ba yung kailangan niya to operate within a specific hour, specific day, ilan yung kailangan gamit nito. Kasi in this way, you will know all of the things that you have to do as manager. Kaya mong if you know how the operation works, you know what items to purchase for each operating hours na nadadaan. You know what goals you can formulate kasi alam mo yung capacity ng workload ng operations mo. Alam mo yung kung ano, hanggang saan lang ba yung kaya nilang gawin. You also know how to prepare your budget and to consume the budget, kasi alam mo kung paano siya gumagana, alam mo kung paano tumatakbo, and alam mo kung ano yung mga pangangailangan ng department mo. And aside from you also analyze variances against targets and deviations from standards. Like say for example, dapat hindi ganito yung ginagawa natin, dapat tuloy tayo sa standard natin, or baka naman mamaya meron tayong kailangan baguhin sa SOP natin kaya nagkakaroon ng substandard. Minsan kasi kaya nagkakaroon ng substandard operating procedures is because meron masyadong matagal na proseso doon sa standard operating natin na hindi naman talaga kailangan o hindi naman talaga siya ganoon ka-necessary. So, pag-aralan nyo rin yon as managers, no? Bakit nagkakaroon ng substandard operations? Baka mamaya merong sense yung substandard operation na ito na in that way, mas mapapabilis natin yung trabaho natin at mas maging maayos. Takes corrective action for any problem affecting the operations, not just also in the housekeeping department but also in the other departments of the hotel. You are the one who is in charge to face the customers whenever they feel that they are not being taken care of, and minsan naramdaman nila na hindi maayos ang service na nakukuha nila. So tayo as managers yung haharap sa kanila para makausap yung mga taong ito. And calls for and presides over operations and meeting with supervisors to discuss and resolve operational problems. So, yun ang mga functions and responsibilities of the housekeeping manager when it comes to planning and decision making and problem solving. We also have here organizing the work. And when organizing the work, ayan, tulad ng sabi ko rin kanina dito sa analyze variances, you identify tasks to be done and distribute them to the staff. review and upgrade the job description, review, upgrade operational policies as needed. Ito yung sinasabi ko na baka mamaya meron dun sa ating SOP na hindi naman talaga kailangan masyadong gawin, at pwede natin tanggalin yon para mas mabilis ang trabaho. And delegate side duties to subordinates. So primarily at dito pinag-uusapan yung mga task ng mga tao. If you guys already had an experience working in a five-star hotel, madalas dyan in every department merong whiteboard. Tapos sa whiteboard na yon nakalagay kung saan yung delegated task ng mga staff nila for that specific day. For example, ako back then I was working at when I was working still at what they call this, ano pangalan niya? Spectrum in Fairmont and Raffles, Makati. Uh, nakalagay doon yung nakalagay doon sa whiteboard namin yung dining hall, and then dining hall A, area A, meron kayo sa area A, nandiyan si station 1, station 2, sa area B naman doon sa station 3 and 4. Tapos nakalagay doon kung sino yung pangalan ng team leader in that area and sino yung nakalagay na head waiter for that specific station. And that way, alam namin kung sino yung mga nakadelegate, kung saan kami nakadelegate na position for that specific day. Ako madalas nakadelegate ako sa area A, sections 1 and 2. And minsan sa back of the house ako as support staff doon sa mga nasa likod. And yun, in that way you know in what area you are delegated. And I'm sure almost all food and beverage establishments and hotel establishments use the same kind of tactic when delegating tasks to their staff. They have some sort of monitoring, maybe in a form of printed papers or yung tulad sa amin, whiteboard, para alam namin kung saan kami naka-position for that specific day. Aside from the organizing the work, they are also responsible for leading and directing and monitoring. When we say leading, directing, and monitoring, dito na lumalabas madalas yung sa pag-alaga sa mga empleyado. Like say for example, ito, conduct job orientation and training of housekeeping personnel. Very important para mapanatili natin ang quality ng ating operations. Trainings and seminars done by establishments, done by hotels and food and beverage establishments are all for the purpose of assuring quality for the establishment. Lalo na pag kayo ay nagtatrabaho sa mga prestigious na companies, mas madalas talaga dyan magkaroon ng maraming training para lang mapanatili yung quality na binibigay natin sa ating mga guests. Kasi the quality of the service that we are providing our guests reflects the brand and image of the hotel or the establishment that we are working for. Next, regularly conduct spot check and routine inspection to ensure that housekeeping standards are complied with. And yun nga, tulad ng trainings na na-assure ang quality ng ating mga produkto at mga serbisyo, we can also do spot checking para alam natin talaga mismo kung ano yung ginagawa ng mga empleyado natin during a specific time and hour. Again, these are all things na ginagawa not just by the executive housekeeper or the housekeeping manager, but all types of manager in different departments that we have. Pwede yan sa operations, let's say for example, sa restaurant manager, front office manager, ano pa ba? Rooms division manager, food and beverage manager, ganyan. Lahat sila ginagawa itong mga bagay na ito, not just the housekeeping manager. So next, prepares and submits reports required by management such as critical incident reports, mga IR. These are all incidents na mga nangyayari na malaki ang impact sa ating business and should be avoided and dealt with quickly. So sa mga managers din na nagpo-provide ng mga reports na ganyan. Boosts employee morale, motivation through effective use of motivational techniques. Of course, managers are also our leaders. And as leaders, they should be able to lead us properly into the right path. na hindi naman tayo yung binabastos din as empleyado. Provide supervision and coaching to section heads and staff. Tulad ng nakalagay dito sa ating conduct job orientation and training for the personnel. We also provide trainings for them and coaching as as kasi tayo yung dapat 'di ba as managers, tulad ng sabi ko, alam natin kung paano nag-ooperate yung ating business. And if we know how the business operates, we will know how our staff should be doing their jobs, no? Kaya kung meron ka nakita as manager na may staff ka na hindi ginagawa ng maayos yung trabaho, and since you know the how your department operates, alam mo kung paano mo siya matuturuan at mako-coach ng mas maayos. Supervises periodic inventory of housekeeping items and supplies. This is in line with this function. Dapat alam mo kung ano yung mga kailangan mong bilhin, mga inventory para sa iyong kumpanya. Maintains par stock requirements. We will talk about this later on, about the meaning of par stock. Conducts on routine inspection of guest rooms to check the quality, again, about QA, quality assurance. Coordinates closely with front office on room status and room bookings para alam nyo kung ano yung mga available rooms, mga rooms na kailangan linisin, mga rooms na may sira, rooms na occupied, and etc. And coordinates with the facilities maintenance section on matters requiring repair or troubleshooting of equipment and room facilities. So kung meron kayong mga nakita yung mga staff mo ng mga bagay na kailangan ayusin, like maybe sa public area or maybe sa ibang area ng hotel or maybe sa rooms mismo, you will know who to contact and how it can be resolved para maging mas maayos at kaaya-aya ang stay ng ating mga guests sa hotel. Controlling function, aside from these are all primarily when it comes to the budget, and aside from the budget, make sure that housekeeping policies are always carried out. Aside from that, evaluate subordinate performance, conduct appraisal interview, everything that is in line with controlling the operations of the business. Yung mga pinag-usapan natin dito, ito yung mga functions ng management. Kung naalala nyo pa, 5 basic functions of management natin, wherein first one is planning, organizing, leading, directing, monitoring, and controlling. Di ko alam kung naalala nyo pa yun. Pero all of those are all applicable not just for the housekeeping manager but also for every kind of manager that we have in every department, in every establishment. And lastly, ito yung pinaka-importante, guest relations. Ang mga managers sa hotel natin, sila yung since sila yung humaharap most likely dun sa mga irate guests natin, sa mga guests na maiinit ang ulo, sila ang masters of guest relation. Alam nila kung paano nila bobolahin yung mga guest. Alam nila kung paano nila ito ipapacify. And they know how to communicate properly. Dito papasok po yung isa sa mga bagay na sinasabi ko palagi sa mga estudyante ko, that communications is the number one key working in this industry. If you know how to communicate properly, if you know how to talk with other people, how to listen to their stories, how to listen to their actions, to the way how they act, to the way how they speak, alam mo kung paano mo ipapacify or alam mo kung paano mo kokontrolin yung yung guest mo, and you know how to take care of such incidents na kailangan ng attention, most likely by the managers. So if you really want to move forward and advance in our industry, in our tourism and hospitality industry, it is very much recommended that you practice communication skills as early as now. Next, we talk about budget preparation. Dito papasok yung pag-asikaso natin ng par stock. Tatandaan ninyo, when it comes to inventory, unang-una talaga is kailangan alam mo kung papaano ang operation ng business mo. Alam mo kung gaano kadami ang tinatawag natin na capacity. I believe you guys are already aware of how capacity works since we talk about this during our operations management class. Particularly I believe that is our third video discussion in BAM 158 capacity planning. So if you know the capacity of your business, you will know yung tinatawag natin na par stock. When we say par stock, ibig sabihin ito, to simply put, if a specific item in your inventory meets the par stock requirements, ibig sabihin nun, your business will run smoothly as it is. Ito yung parang tinatawag natin na minimum stock required. Ayan, yon. That I think that is a better explanation for you guys. Ito yung minimum stock ng inventory na kailangan natin in order for us to operate properly in our business. Once that your inventory is at par stock, ibig sabihin okay na ang iyong inventory at kaya mong mag-operate for the rest of the day without worrying for anything else. Hindi magkukulang ang inventory mo at hindi ito sosobra. Kung sosobra man ito, you can use it in the future for the following day of operations. Para mas mababa ngayon yung kailangan mong yung kailangan mong orderin na items for your inventory. So how can we determine our par stock? Yung ating par stock computation. Para natin malalaman kung gaano karami nga ba yung minimum items required for us to operate properly in our business or in our hotel. For example, ayan, linen requirements based on the available number of beds. So, dito, nakita nyo, kung una natin dinetermine ay kung ilan yung number of beds natin. Number of beds is connected doon sa operation and capacity ng business natin. So, inaalam natin ulit yung capacity ng ating hotel para alam natin kung gaano kadami ang par stock na dapat meron tayo. For example, single bed na flat sheets. Flat sheets are is two sheets na nilalagay natin sa bed natin. So we have 60 single beds in the hotel. It means a 60 bed capacity. And with 60 single beds available, we should have, ang computation natin is 60 times 2 sheets per bed. Since per bed, dalawang flat sheets ang nilalagay natin. So, for the initial setup, we should have a 120 initial setup of flat sheets. Ibig sabihin nito, kung meron tayong 120 na flat sheets, good to go na tayo for that specific day para ma-cover yung 60 single beds na meron tayo. Pero that is still not the par stock. Usually, ang ginagawa natin, once we identified kung gaano kadami ang ating kailangan for the initial setup, we will now determine kung gaano kadami ang par stock natin by multiplying it by 3. When we multiply it by 3, or sir, bakit natin minumultiply by 3 ang ating mga produkto or ang ating mga items sa inventory po natin dito sa housekeeping? Kasi one par or one stock of the inventory goes to the initial setup or yung kailangan talaga for the setup of the operation. Another one is there to replenish the soiled items, and another one is on standby for the succeeding replenishment. For example, meron kang isang setup ng flat sheet. So, dalawang sheets na kagad yon, di ba? And then, agad-agad, kailangan ng turnover doon sa room na yon. So, meron ka pa ngayong isa para ma-replenish yung items na ginamit mo during the initial setup. And habang nasa laundry yung sheets na ito, nagkaroon na naman ng turnover doon sa room na yon. Nagkaroon na naman ng bagong guest. So, kailangan mo ulit ng bagong pair of flat sheets. So, meron ka ngayon naka-standby na isa pa for the succeeding replenishment while waiting for these two to be replenished. Kaya tatlo yan. Usually naman talaga tatlo yung ginagamit natin or times 3 talaga usually dun sa initial setup para makuha natin yung total par stock na needed natin. Pero it's still, tulad ng sabi ko, up to the operations of the business. Kung gaano kadami ang kailangan niyang isipin for the initial setup. Ang gusto ko lang sabihin dito is usually preparing for the initial setup or yung pinakakailangan ninyo to have to have your operations running is not enough for you to run the business smoothly. Again, uulitin ko. Yung kailangan mong minimum number of items para sa operation ng business mo is not usually enough. Kailangan meron kang mga nakahanda na pang replenish or meron kang medyo sinosobrahan mo ng konti yung minimum number of stock na kailangan mo. In that way kasi you are prepared, no? Handa ka for if something will come up or if something will occur or an incident will happen during the operations at magkulang ang iyong initial setup, meron kang kahit papaano mga reserba. Kaya importante na ang par stock natin is a little bit above our actually hindi siya little bit, no? Kailangan talaga usually above the initial setup ng ating business. So this again not just applies for the housekeeping department but also in the other departments of the hotel. Specifically if you guys want to have your own businesses someday, no? At least alam niyo na dapat pala hindi tayo nasa edge or hindi tayo nandoon sa punto na hanggang dun lang sa kailangan natin ang ating o-orderin ng mga items. Kailangan minsan talaga sinosobrahan natin para prepared tayo sa mga bagay na mangyayari. Na hindi natin alam na pwede mangyari. Yan. Ano pa ba? Tapos na tayo mag-usap sa par stock. Now, we are talking about par stock for chemicals. Okay na yan. Estimating manpower requirements. Okay. This is also important. Kasi part of our responsibilities as managers is also the well-being of our staff. And how can we take care of our staff? Tulad ulit ng sinabi ko kanina, dapat alam natin kung paano nag-ooperate ang business natin, kung ano yung mga capacity ng business natin, kung hanggang saan lang ba, or kung hanggang gaano kadami lang ba ang kaya nating i-accommodate na guest for that specific day. Yan o. The first one here, yan. Determine the productivity standards from which the productivity ratio can be derived. Productivity standard refers to the minimum or average volume or amount of work to be done within a given time or within one shift, which is 8 hours. Simple put po, ang sinasabi dito is kailangan alam natin kung ano yung capacity ng workload na kayang gawin o kayang ma-accommodate ng ating mga tao within a specific time or most likely within one shift. So, isipin nyo muna as managers, not just in the housekeeping department, but also in the other departments in each hotel and other establishments. Gaano kadami nga ba ang kayang i-accommodate ng, let's say for example, restaurant. Gaano kadami nga ba ang kayang i-accommodate ng restaurant ko within 8 hours of shift? Once na alam niyo kung gaano kadami ang kayang i-accommodate ng restaurant mo, you will know how many people you need in order for you to achieve that capacity. This will depend on many factors like the capacity of the staff. Kung hanggang ilan nga lang ba talaga ang kayang i-handle ng staff natin, size of the rooms to be made up, availability of equipment, and the volume of work to be done. These are all considerations that you have to think of para alam mo kung gaano kadami nga ba ang staff na kailangan mo in order for you to work in that specific duty or shift. Alam mo kung gaano ka extensive or gaano kahirap yung trabaho. Alam mo kung ilang tao ang kailangan para magawa yung trabahong yon. Alam mo kung gaano katagal ang kailangan ng oras para ma-achieve or magawa ang trabahong iyon. And that way, alam mo ngayon kung papaano mo aalagaan ang iyong staff at alam mo kung paano sila i-delegate sa mga tasks accordingly. Meron dito mabilis lang na competition about or mabilis na pag-usap about knowing the capacity of your of your people, of the staff. Sige, basahin natin. For room makeup, determine how many minutes it will take a room attendant to make up a room with maximum efficiency. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina na dapat alam mo kung gaano katagal ang kailangan, gaano karaming oras ang kailangan para magawa yung isang trabaho ng maayos. So in this case, nasa housekeeping setup tayo, you should know how long it will take for a room attendant to clean up and prepare a room with maximum efficiency. Find out through actual observation and from the room attendant himself. Pwede mong i-observe kung paano nga ba ginagawa ng taong yun, yung trabaho, or pwede mong alamin mismo, tanongin na lang based doon sa perspective ng trabaho nung nagtatrabaho na yun. So for example, usually a room can be cleaned within 15 to 20 minutes. A competent room attendant can efficiently make up a standard room, 25-30 minutes for suites and larger rooms. Villas and apartments with several rooms, kitchens, and lounging areas certainly require longer cleaning time. So assuming that 25 minutes is the minimum allocated time for room makeup and the room attendant has 8 hours or... Okay, sorry for cutting the video. Meron lang bigla ang tinanggap na call. Pero yun nga, balik tayo sa ating napag-usapan. Computing the total capacity of each individual to clean, kung how many rooms ang kaya niyang linisin per day. Alamin mo kung gaano kadami o kung gaano nga ba katagal ang oras na kailangan in order for you to do a specific job. And in this case, since nasa housekeeping perspective tayo, kailangan nating alamin kung gaano katagal pwedeng maayos o pwedeng ma-ready ang isang kwarto. Sinasabi daw na meron tayong 25 minutes para maayos yung kwarto na meron tayo. And usually the housekeeper has 6 hours to spend for room makeup. Kasi yung 2 hours sa kanya is nakalaan for other duties and maybe may mga breaks din sila. So first, kailangan nating alamin kung gaano kadaming oras ang meron tayo with 6 hours. So in 6 hours, that is equivalent to 360 minutes. So ang kailangan natin gawin is 360 divided by 25 para malaman natin kung gaano kadaming rooms ang kayang i-accommodate ni housekeeper per day or per shift. Tandaan natin, 360 minutes, ito yung equivalent ng 6 hours natin. Divided by 25, kasi 25 minutes ang kailangan natin para makapag-prepare tayo at malinis natin na maayos ang isang kwarto. At ganun, malalaman natin na 14 units or 14 rooms ang pwede nating malinis in a span of 6 hours, 14.4. So, wala namang 0.4 na room, diba? So, tayo ngayon mag-focus sa whole number. So, 14 rooms ang kayang i-accommodate ng isang staff per day. So, assuming that we have, let's say for example, we have 600 rooms in the hotel. Napakalaki, no? Ng hotel mo. And meron tayong 14 rooms ang kayang linisin ng ng mga staff natin. So para malaman natin kung gaano kadaming staff ang kailangan natin for that specific day, 600 rooms divided by 14 rooms na kayang linisin per staff, kailangan natin ng whopping 42 staff. Kailangan natin ng 42 na staff to work para ma-accommodate natin yung 600 rooms na meron tayo. Actually 43 if you will round this off, no. So yun. Pero the only thing that I want you guys to take out here, no, hindi ko naman kayo papacompetent talaga ng ganito sa exams ninyo or sa test ninyo. The only thing that I want you guys to take home from this idea is you have to identify first the capacity of your establishment, yung working capacity natin, yung effective na capacity na kailangan natin, na kaya natin gawin dun sa ating business. Kasi once that we know the working capacity of our business, we will know how many people should we need in order for us to operate in the business that we're planning to do. So yun. And determine the volume of the workload for that specific day. Maybe you can check for kung kung weekends yan, of course, mas maraming tao. So mas maraming staff ang kailangan mo tuwing weekends. Tuwing weekdays naman, usually walang masyadong tao dyan. Working in the hotel or working in the restaurant industry is almost the same. Pag weekends, marami talagang tao. Kasi ito yung may available time yung mga taong gumala. Pag weekdays, ito yung masyadong hindi ganun kadaming tao ang pumapasok sa ating mga establishment. So, pag umaga or pag weekdays siguro okay lang kahit mababang lang ang mga staff na papapasukin mo. Pero pagdating ng weekends, saka tayong mas maraming tao na papasok. Pag weekdays naman, since workday yan, usually yung mga tao, kung kayo ay isang restaurant or isang food and beverage establishment na malapit sa mga office, expect na weekday lunch maraming tao. So pag weekday lunch, dito ka maglalagay ngayon ng napakaraming tao, ng mga staff para ma-accommodate yung weekday lunch rush. Tapos pag mga bandang hapon na ng paggabi, dito na usually bumababa yung mga tao na bumibili, larang-larang na paghapon na. And pag paggabi, usually naman yung mga pupunta kasi may mga time lang naman talaga na na kumain pa sa labas. Pero yun, weekday lunch masyadong marami rin talaga yan, and sa mga restaurants, isa yan sa mga rush hours natin. So alamin mo yung mga volume ng workload on that specific time of the day. Not just first, no, determine the amount or the volume of the workload in the amount in a day, and after determining the amount of workload in a day, determine the workload in a week, in a month, or in a year. So in a year masyado lang malawak. In a month na siguro yung pinakamalawak na pwede nyo i-determine na workload natin. Para yun, alam nyo kung ano yung mga peak season natin at yung mga dry season. With productivity standards and workload already established, the manning requirements can be computed by dividing the volume of work by the productivity ratio. These are all things na very very detailed na siya, pero really, no, working in the industry for quite some time already, hindi ka naman talaga gagamit masyado ng ganitong math na kailangan meron ka ng productivity ratio, meron ka ng ganito, ganyan. As long as you know the capacity of your establishment, you know the volume of the workload of your establishment, you know the capacity of each individual or each staff that you have, kayang-kaya mong iman ng maayos yung inyong establishment. So I want you guys, or I want now to move forward, no, tayo, to move forward with monitoring the job. And monitoring the job properly is kind of it is one of the main objectives din talaga ng mga managers natin and ng supervisors natin, specifically sa low level and middle level management na meron tayo. So what really is monitoring? Monitoring is when we check or assess the extent by which work units or individuals are able to generate desired results. So chine-check natin or ina-assess natin yung mga staff natin kung maganda ba talaga or kung pasok ba sa standards ang ating output ng mga trabahador natin. Provide feedback about their work, So, at dito pumapasok yung performance review ng mga tao, ng mga staff, serve as guide for reflection and analysis. Of course, since tayo nga yung kanilang mga supervisors and managers, tayo rin yung tinitingala ng mga staff natin as trainers, as those who can guide them accordingly and provide basis for decision making. All of the things that we will monitor in our work, such as yung kanilang, yun nga, yung kanilang work ethics, yung output ba nila, these are all factors that we should consider when making a decision moving forward for our establishment or for our department. So, monitoring really is important. No? And yung monitoring natin, hindi yan basta-basta na sumisipat-sipat lang tayo, titingnan natin, or sumisilip lang tayo sa mga trabaho ng ibang tao. But most importantly, aside from that, we really check or assess them based on the standard operating procedures, and we provide feedback regarding their performance, kung if there are room for improvement, we should do it properly, not in a way na nag-humiliate tayo ng tao, but in a way na ina-encourage natin silang mag-grow pa. And if the staff is doing well, if the staff is good enough or maganda yung quality ng kanyang output, we as supervisors or managers should also provide feedback to them. Kasi if these kinds of people know that they are well appreciated, that the effort that they are putting into the work is appreciated by us managers and supervisors, mas maengganyo silang magtrabaho ng mas maayos. Kasi ito talaga yung importance din ng staff, ng mga employees natin sa establishment. Kasi sila yung main income generators natin, ang ating mga employees. Without them, wala tayong mabibenta na kahit ni isang produkto or serbisyo para sa ating mga guests or customers. So if we will take care of them accordingly, we'll provide criticisms, feedback sa kanilang mga trabaho. If we will show that we see their efforts, we see how they put effort in their work, mas ma-appreciate ito ng mga trabahador. Bagay na kulang sa St. Jude. Sorry, naparanta ko bigla. Wala kasi kahit anong show of appreciation para sa amin. Well, anyway, yan, how is performance monitored? Performance are monitored by knowing the standard operating procedures of our establishment. And once that we have an SOP or the standard operating procedures, meron tayong ngayong basehan kung tama at mali nga ba yung ginagawa ng mga empleyado natin. So, yun. Importance of establishing SOP. Elements of effective monitoring. There's a detailed description of performance standards written in a checklist. Dito madalas yung kung ginagawa, ito nga yung ating tinatawag na mga SOP. Kung nagagawa ba lahat ng ating mga staff yung each checklist na dapat ginagawa nila para masabi natin na ito yung standard ng ating kumpanya. Yan, siguro ito yung magandang i-focus din natin dito sa module na ito. Yung what should be strictly monitored in the operations of the business. First is if we are attaining performance targets. By monitoring how our staff moves or how they operate, we will know kung na-achieve ba natin yung ating mga target na sales or target na performance na dapat by a day meron tayong matapos na ganito karaming mga rooms. Kailangan by in a day meron tayong ma-produce na ganito karaming mga items or ganito karaming mga products. By knowing or by monitoring our staff, we can now assess if we really meet our target sales? Kung na-meet ba natin yung ating mga gusto na output for our business? And aside from that, we can also now check if yung mga binibili natin, yung mga kino-consume natin na inventory is pasok ba doon sa budget na meron tayo. Minsan kasi order tayo ng order na para ma-replenish yung stocks natin sa inventory without really knowing that we are already going beyond our budget. If if really that the situation arise that we should order more than what we usually order in the budget. Madalas kailangan natin kailangan to talaga i-justify sa mga ano natin, sa mga top level managers natin. And usually naman nakikinig naman sila depende sa company na meron ikaw. Pero yun, by monitoring the consumption of our inventories, we know if we are going beyond what is stipulated in our budget or baka mamaya masyado naman tayo titipid, which is also not good for our business. Compliance to productivity and quality standards. Ito yung number one reason or ito yung isa sa mga importante talaga na minomonitor natin kung nagagawa ba na maayos yung trabaho natin. Kasi mamaya, 'di ba, if we know how much workload capacity can one staff do or one staff can accommodate in a day, malalaman natin kung ginagawa ba niya na maayos yung trabaho niya o hindi. For example, yun nga, meron tayong 14 rooms na kayang ilinisin ng guest kayang linisin ng staff natin, pero mga less than 14 ang nagagawa niya linisin in a day. Ibig sabihin, there must be something wrong with the performance of the employee. Baka mamaya meron siyang mga na-encounter na problems doon sa operation, or baka mamaya meron siyang personal problems man yan na nakaka-interrupt sa kanyang work. So you as the manager should be able to address it accordingly. By knowing the capacity of each individual staff that we have, alam natin kung they are underperforming or overperforming. Irregularities and discrepancies in transactions. Meron bang mga biglaan na pagkakamali when it comes to the transactions of the business? Madalas nangyayari ito sa sales. And dati kasi naranasan ko rin mag-cashier. And doon talaga marami nangyayari mga disputes, mga discrepancies yung mga tinatawag natin. And malas mo na lang pag meron kang maraming discrepancy sa araw na yon. Ibig sabihin, hindi mo nagawa na maayos yung trabaho mo. Discrepancies usually happens because our staff usually don't know how to handle transactions. And kapag hindi alam kasi ng staff kung paano mag-handle ng transactions ng maayos, pag dumating yung oras na meron siyang kailangan ayusin na discrepancy, mas mangangarag siya, mas hindi niya alam kung paano niya tatrabahuhin yung dapat gawin. Kaya dapat alam mo talaga as a manager kung paano mo step up, or alam mo kung paano mo i-train yung mga empleyado mo accordingly para maiwasan yung mga ganung klaseng discrepancy. Ako, dati naging cashier na ako, and pinakamataas siguro na naging discrepancy ko is nag-short ako ng 100 pesos plus. Pag 100 pesos plus yung short mo as a cashier, babayaran mo yun. Kailangan mong bayaran yun. And yun nga lang yung masakit sa amin as mga kahera. Pero yun, with mistakes kasi comes learning. That is important. So once naman na natuto na ako talaga kung paano maiwasan yung mga ganong klaseng discrepancy, ayun, isa ako sa mga naging top performing na employees back then. Pero yun nga lang, sadly, something happens really that is not according to our plan. Kaya, you're forced to do decisions. Customer satisfaction. This is also one of the things that we have to monitor. Not just hindi na natin monitor yung ating mga empleyado, hindi na natin monitor yung ating mga departments, but we also offer last but not the least, customer satisfaction. If we will know that our customers are satisfied with our products or services, it means that we are doing the best that we can and we are doing great so far. Pero kung meron tayong mga makuhang feedbacks from our guests or customers na sinasabi na hindi maganda yung mga nakukuha nilang serbisyo or hindi maganda yung mga nakukuha nilang produkto, there must be something wrong with our operations. And that is why we need to monitor customer satisfaction levels para malaman natin if there are more things that we can do to improve our business. And then lastly, we have here tools that we need in order for us to monitor accordingly ang ating operations for the business. Pero these are all things naman na na pwede niyo nang matutunan ito pag dumating na kayo sa sa mismong work environment na meron tayo. Once that you will be able to graduate college and kayo magsisimula na magtrabaho sa industriya, maybe in the hotel or maybe in the in the airline industry or maybe in the tourism industry, these are all things that you will have to train, and train naman kayo dito for sure. So hindi ko na kayo masyadong i-focus dito sa mga bagay na ito. I want you guys to focus more on or on things that you should strictly monitor as managers, not just in the housekeeping department, but also in the other departments that you may be working with. Maybe in the food and beverage department, front office department, maybe in the back of the house, in the sales and marketing department, kung saan man kayong department papunta, monitoring them is important. Yun. Estimating manpower requirements, knowing the capacity of our work, capacity of our staff, kung gaano kadami ang kayang trabahuhin ng ating mga staff, kung gaano kadami ang kayang trabahuhin o kayang matapos ng isang business in a day, para malaman natin kung paano natin, kung gaano kadaming tao ang kailangan meron tayo for that specific shift or for that specific duty. And also, aside from that, power stock requirements, very important. Ito yung ating minimum number of inventory required in order for us to have a smooth operation throughout the day. So hindi lang dito nakapaloob yung initial setup na kailangan natin or yung saktong-sakto lang na kailangan inventory for that specific shift or day. Kailangan meron tayong konting pasobra para lang meron tayong mga magagamit pa na inventory or stocks. If worst comes to worst, something will happen in our operation for that specific day or for that specific shift or duty. So, power stock really is important. And also, last but not the least, ito yung una natin pinag-usapan, the 5 functions. 5 tama. Ano ba 5? Ayan, 5 functions of managers in the hotel. These are all things or functions and responsibilities not just with the housekeeping manager or the executive housekeeper, but also the other managers of the hotel or of the business. So yun lang, and I hope meron kayo natutunan kahit paano dito sa module na to. And this will be our last module for this semester. And I hope that you guys were able to learn few things here in this module. I must admit that this is not really something that I am an expert with when it comes to accommodations, operations, and management. Pero pinili ko dito yung mga bagay, yung mga modules na tingin kong kailangan yung malaman in order for you to have a working knowledge of how the housekeeping industry works and important topics that we should cover that is essential, not just working as one of the housekeeping department team, but also in every other aspect or in every other departments that we have in the tourism and hospitality industry. So good luck in your studies, guys, and I'm always rooting for your success. Lagi kayong mag-iingat, and I hope meron kayong natutunan sa subject na ito kahit paano. Until then, I'll see you guys I'll see you guys maybe next time and mag-ingat kayo palagi. God bless.